bifurcated regulation that we have here with the CFPB is exactly like the bifurcated regulation that we had with respect to the GSEs. So if we had Congress coming in and muscling the market and basically saying with the GSE Act that you could over-leverage, and here you had the safety and soundness regulator, the prudential regulators, who said, no, that's a mistake, 100-to-1 leverage. The goals, forcing people to buy junk like Countrywide and holding that on the books, you're going to do that just so that everybody can own a house whether they can make a payment or not? You're going to put that kind of leverage into the system? You're going to muscle those kinds of goals to create a market for junk like Countrywide out there? That's the insanity. That's the insanity of duplicating that kind of system and trumping the prudential regulator yet again, who wanted to regulate the GSEs for systemic risk. So now here we've created, and I'll ask this question of Mr. Sharp, we've created a situation where we've made it harder, even harder, for the prudential regulators to have the kind of say over safety and soundness they should have had. And here's what we've done under the FSOC. They can only block the CFPB regulations if 2/3 of its membership, which includes the CFPB director, concludes that the regulation or provision would put the safety and soundness of the United States banking system or the stability of the financial system of the United States at risk. Mr. Sharp, do you think this standard is too broad and the number of required votes needed to overturn too high to effectively protect the financial system from onerous and overreaching activism by the CFPB?
Yeah, the Chamber definitely believes the bar is set too high. And I mean, I think the critical point here is it seems like Congress recognized that there was a potential for a problem here. That's why this provision is in the bill. But the way it was set up, it's a bar that it's not clear, that any rule could ever clear. Even if you have all 5 prudential regulators, 5 of the 10 members of the FSOC, make a decision that a rule could undermine safety and soundness, that's not enough. You still got to convince everybody else. So if this is a safety and soundness question, it seems like if you have unanimity among the safety and soundness regulators, then that should control.
And this is the aspect that concerns me, because I've talked to all the prudential regulators and heard their concerns, both during the markup of this bill and during the conference on this legislation. Let me just ask you, how would you improve upon this language, Mr. Sharp, if you might make some suggestions?
Sure. The language in the bill before us today.
Yeah, how would you address this issue in the way Mr. Duffy addresses it with his bill, or how would you? I think the Duffy bill is a very good solution. The only thing I would say in addition to what's before us here in the legislation is the authority to review and override CFPB actions, as I understand it, only applies to regulations. We've heard from Professor Warren that her inclination, at least at this point, and she's not obviously the director, but at this point speaking on behalf of the Bureau, is not to regulate through regulations and to use enforcement actions to sort of push for compliance. Now that's fine, and that's one way of doing things, and it wouldn't be the first time an agency did that. But if that's the case, if that's the primary means of pushing for compliance and for shaping the landscape, then those types of actions should be, at least some of those actions, could be broad and sweeping enough to have safety and soundness implications, and it's probably a good idea for FSOC to have the authority to review those as well.